This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. I have more questions than most about the Browns' offensive line. I think we need to accept that we're close to the end of an era with the reputation that this offensive line built in 2020. Not because Bill Callahan left. Like, I don't think that's the reason that the Browns' offensive line isn't going to be what we remember it being. It's because the Browns' offensive line has been declining since 2020, right in front of our faces, but it feels like we've been refusing to acknowledge it this whole time. Look, they had that great year in 2020, but every year after that, they have not really lived up to that bar that they set in 2020. And look, the two players I'm talking about in this video, Wyatt Teller and Joe Bitonio, they're two of the city's most favorite players, right? We love Joe Bitonio. We love Wyatt Teller. We love the pancakes. But we have to talk about the fact that these two guys have not been what they have in the past since 2020. Wyatt Teller has had a considerable fall off since 2020. And the same can be said with Joe Bitonio, which is more concerning because his fall off is with his health. Right. He has just missed more games and missed more snaps since 2020. And with Wyatt Teller, he just hasn't played as well or as crisp since 2020. So let's look at the film. Let's see what could pop up for them, what they still do well, and then get back to it. There are some issues popping up in Joe Bitonio and Wyatt Teller's games that I do feel like are now worthy of discussion because they're getting to a point to where they're starting to be unavoidable. Again, when we think of Joe Bitonio, when we think of Wyatt Teller, we think of the glory days with these guys. But the glory days was 2020. And 2020, like people point out with Deshaun Watson, was a long time ago. And when you look at the tape recently, it don't really look the same. There's some new things popping up with both players. Let's talk about Wyatt Teller first. Wyatt Teller, I don't know if he lost his anchor, but you don't expect somebody as powerful as him to be moved backwards as easily as he gets moved backwards sometimes. Look at this. Move. I mean, that's not giving ground slowly, right? When I do the breakdown on Ethan Posick, who's coming up, you're going to see what giving ground slowly means, right? Hell, you might be even see it right there. You see how Ethan is just chopping them feet. So, like, it's not always a bad thing if an offensive lineman is getting moved backwards. There's sometimes, if it looks controlled, it's not bad. It's actually intended. But this is not what's going on. This is not controlled. This is being moved. So that happened to Wyatt Teller. And then just happened one time. Happened a lot. Let's go to the next play. I mean, like, I don't know why Larry Ogunjobi did him like this, but he got violated by Larry Ogunjobi. The whole game. The whole game, Wyatt Teller was getting violated by Larry Ogunjobi. I know a lot of people chose to focus on Jed Wills struggling in this game. I don't think Jed struggled as much as people make it out to be in this game. But you know who did? Wyatt Teller against Larry Ogunjobi. Look at this. He just gets beat, washed easily with a inside rip move. It's all it took. And this ain't like you getting beat by Aaron Donald. No disrespect to Larry Ogunjobi. He's a good pass rusher. But you expect two-time All-Pro or one-time All-Pro Wyatt Teller, the Pancake Factory, to handle this. Like, Larry Ogunjobi is not somebody who you think is a all-pro level player capable of doing this repeatedly to a all-pro guard. But yet this happened. And then this happened. Look at this. Yeah, it ain't like Larry Ogunjobi's like getting like the craziest help here. This is one-on-one on an island. Now, again, It's a two-way go, which does not put Wyatt Teller in the most advantageous position. And if this were Aaron Donald, if this were Quinnen Williams, if this were like one of the best defensive tackles in all of football, I would let it go. But Larry Ogunjobi, brother, you got to do better than that on a two-way go. Like, you got to slow him down. He just washed you. Completely washed you. That's washed. Not saying Wyatt Teller is washed. I'm saying on that rep, Wyatt Teller got washed, right? Like, slow hand, slap away, and now you chasing on my butt hip, and you ain't even moved me while you was on the hip, really, for real. So now I'm making a straight beeline. Like, you Deshaun Watson, you gotta be mad about that. Like, dog, you can do more than that? And it wasn't like Pittsburgh sent the house. Again, it is a two-way go. I will give him that. And maybe they just got to slide some more to Wyatt Teller. So it's a two-way go. He gets cooked on the two-way go. But man, you are all pro. we expect you to handle stuff like the all pros. They handle the tough situations. Look at this, man. Again, it's a two-way go, but it's Larry Ogunjobi. Like, everybody else is handling it well. Like, there's no help. Look. Good block there by Ethan. Good block there by Joel. You see Jed handling business, getting Highsmith out the way. DeJuan Jones absolutely doing his thing to TJ Watt. Wyatt Teller just getting washed here. Washed. How many times has this happened in this game? 3 times. It's Larry Ogunjobi. No disrespect to the Larry O. But come on, dog. You all pro. All pro. Wasn't just this game. Now, here's one thing. Wyatt Teller still got some. Now, again, don't let these clips fool you into thinking Wyatt Teller is a bum. He's not a bum. He had a very bad game versus Pittsburgh, but he's not a bum. He's still good, right? He's still able to move big people. Look at him move Michael Pierce out the way. This is very tough. He's still able to do that. He's still very good, very strong at times. And even in this game, right, he can still bully things. He's really good on the pull. He's really good in run blocking. But that pass protection, man, it's starting to get noticeable. Now let's talk about Joe Bitonio. Really not enjoying having to talk about Joe like this because Joe has been so consistent for so long. But one of the things that I'm starting to see consistently pop up in Joe's film is he does not have the strength or the anchor that he once did. What I mean by this, you expect him to be able to send back 55 and clear him. He's not. But I mean, it's not a bad block, but you expect a little bit more out of Joe there, at least more strength. But that's not an issue. Like, that's fine. It's serviceable. And again, kind of pops up here. Michael Pierce gets underneath him and he's pushing him back. And that's a little bit more than you would expect Joe would give up there. Again, it's not that bad. It's not like when we watch Wyatt Teller give up like 8 feet of ground in like a half a second. But it's not what it used to be with Joe. Yeah. You see right here, Joe used to be real good for making sure that hole would be clear, right? Like we see with Ethan Posick on the other side, gets his hand. He's getting a double team, but he's able to anchor that down. Joe gets moved here by Matabuke pretty violently. And again, it's not something you expect from Joe. Now, you remember Joe has had some back issues as of late. It's been one of the causes for him to miss games recently in the last couple of years. And I'm starting to think that maybe those back issues kind of affect his ability to anchor, kind of affect his ability to just be powerful like he used to out of his base. Because this did not used to happen with Joe a lot. Like there would be like a game or two where this would happen. But again, look how much ground Joe's given. And it's not like he's still Joe Bitonio. He's still a really smart, technically really good player. So when he starts to slow down from a play level standpoint, it's not going to be as egregious as some other people, but it's there. It's there. Like, he's giving up a lot of ground there. Blows up this protection. And here, he's giving up a lot of ground there. Blows up the protection. Now, he's still a pro. He's still going to give ground slowly. He's still going to get beat as slow as possible. But, you know, it ain't what it used to be here. Now, let's talk about what Joel still does at a high level, because I think Joel does still play at a high level at times. I think it's a little bit more streaky than it used to be, but he does still show that he's capable of playing at a high level. What Joel is really good at is keeping his head on the swivel. Nobody keeps their head on the swivel better than Joel Bitonio. Like, look at this. He gets Roquan, pushes, and then I don't know how he saw that. He gets Roquan, pushes, and then finds, is that Clowney or Owe? Finds Owe and gets a hand on him too. That's super impressive from Joel Bitonio there, right? And this is why Joel's still going to be pretty serviceable during the regular season, even in pass protection, as he's kind of losing it a little bit, because just look at that. Just head on the swivel. There's more examples of this, right? Again, just nobody handles his twist or stunt or late blitzer or delayed blitzer like Joel Bitonio. Like, you would never want to send it over that gap where Joel's sitting. Boom, boom. Wish you get a better ball there from Watson. I don't know. Yeah, that was a bad ball. It's a horrible ball. Yeah. Yeah, you can see, look at that position Watson's in. This isn't a Watson film breakdown, but yeah, that position that Watson's in right there, that's not going to create a very accurate throw 9 times out of 10. Got to work on that one. But Joel here, again, head on the swivel. Nobody does the head on the swivel better than Joel still, right? Boom. Just look at how smooth that is, man. Look at how he handles this stunt twist combination. And you hope that this gets better with him and Jed. It hasn't been as smooth with him and Jed. Like, if you want to say Garyon Conley did one thing better than Jed, and this is the only thing that he did better than Jed, because let's be real, he was very much worse, is communicate with Joel on these stunt twist situations, because look at that. That's so crisp, dog. Look at that pass off there. Well, that's Joel being Joel. That's what Joel does the best. Nobody keeps their head on the swivel quite like him. Even then, though, you see how deep he got in that pocket. He couldn't really drop that anchor like he used to. But again, he's such a pro that he's going to give that ground as slow as possible. It's just, he used to be able to not give that ground. Same thing here. It's Michael Pierce. And then look how he just stays vertical with not Michael Pierce, Travis Jones. Look how he just stays, he mirrors him with his hips. Look at this. Boom, boom, boom. Hands. Nope. Can't get away from me. Like, he's still a good athlete. He's still good in space, and he's still the best head on the swivel offensive lineman that the Browns have. But the power is not there like it used to be. The anchor is not there like it used to be. And as he gets older, those two things are going to go and go and go. And I really worry about that anchor, because he's had the back injuries. He's only getting older, and eventually that anchor is just going to go away completely. And it looks like we got like a year or two maybe left, that anchor being able to hold on, if we're being hopeful. So that's where I'm at with Joel and Wyatt. That's why they're ranked here. Y'all have a great, well, let's go back to the video. It's funny because when we have conversations about Deshaun Watson, 2020 feels like so long ago. But then we talk about this Browns offensive line, and it feels like we don't realize the bulk of what we feel about the Browns offensive line is really based on what we saw in 2020. And as much as we need to let go of the 2020 argument when it comes to Deshaun Watson, is the same thing is true for this offensive line. It is not 2020 anymore. with this offensive line. There are real concerns about Joe Bitonio's longevity. He's already 10 plus years into his career. How many more good years does he have left? Does he have another good year left in him? This guy has a ton of wear and tear. This guy's been playing 1,000 snaps a year since like 2015. He's been a workhorse, and he's done it for 10 years straight for some very bad, very run heavy teams, by the way. So there's a lot of physical wear and tear and tread on the tires that are Joe Bitonio's playing career. You look at Wyatt Teller, and what's concerning about that is while his play hasn't plummeted to what it was before 2020, it certainly isn't what it was at 2020. And the Browns are moving further and further away from what they did in 2020 that made Wyatt Teller so effective. And my concern is Wyatt Teller's effectiveness declining because he's just not as good as he was in 2020? Or is it declining because each year since 2020, we've moved away from the things that the Browns had to do in 2020 to make that offense work? Like, is Wyatt Teller the right fit at right guard for the Cleveland Browns going forward if this is the direction that the Cleveland Browns are going to go in? There's some real questions that need to be answered. And this is why, to me, the offensive line, most of them, they're not going to make a top 10 appearance in this list, because I think this is the most neglected part of the team. And I think it's time we start talking and really wanting the team to address this part of the team. I thought they would do more in the draft to replenish it. They did not. They only got Zach Center, right? That was the only play that they made for the offensive line. And that seems like it's for Joe Bitonio or Wyatt Teller, whichever one needs to be replaced first. They've made some other moves, Luke Whippler, but they have questions at tackle. They have questions at both guard positions. And I'm not sure what those solutions are going to be for those players. Now, again, don't take this as the Browns have a bad offensive line or that Joe Bitonio and Wyatt Teller stink. That's most certainly not what I'm saying. But I do think that we're not in the world that we used to live in where we had two guards who were the best at their position. I don't think that's true for Joe Bitonio anymore. I don't think that's true for Wyatt Teller. I think you have two guards who are pretty good, but they're no longer the best at their position. They're no longer elite for their position. They have cracks that can be taken advantage of, like any other pretty good guard. And that is the question for this team. Can they survive when the offensive line is not dominant? This will be a good offensive line for the Cleveland Browns, but this won't be a dominant offensive line for the Cleveland Browns. And if you're Andrew Berry, if you're Kevin Stefanski, really need to get started on replacing some of these guys. These guys are expensive and they're getting older, and the Browns need to replace them sooner than later. We'll see what the future has, and hold. But ranking them here outside the top 10 was a shock for me. But the more I looked through the film, the more I said to myself, like, I cannot put these two guys in the top 10 of the rankings for the Cleveland Browns, because I would only be doing it based off of fan expectation and reputation. And that's not a proper way to rank anybody. So Joe Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, I bunched them up here because you guys are not going to watch two videos about a guard. Appreciate you guys for watching. You guys have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.